All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we've got an update on Gervonta Davis. As word is, he's already ready for the rematch, while Lamont Roach is taking victory laps for a draw. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we've got an update on one of the best fighters in the world, Gervonta Tank Davis, as reports have been coming out about his activities ahead of the Lamont Roach rematch. There was also updates from a former friend of his and current boxer, Chuck Simpson. Also, Mustafa, the trainer, Coach Mustafa out of Atlanta, also made statements about Gervonta Davis, and we can see with our own eyes what's going on with Lamont Roach. And things may not go as well as you think in the second fight between Lamont Roach and Gervonta Davis for Lamont Roach. But before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you guys so much for your continued support. Look, in boxing, there's a boxing book called Only the Ring Was Square. And it was written by the #1 matchmaker, the top matchmaker in boxing in the 1940s and the 1950s and the 1960s. He was the guy, name escapes me, that was the matchmaker in Madison Square Garden. One of the things that he said that he looked for whenever he was making a fight, because he always wanted to have good competitive fights, but he knew that you don't know whether the fight is going to be competitive or how the fight is going to turn out, no matter who the fighters are, until you know how that person feels the day of the fight. They had given examples of a fighter that had beaten the tar out of another fighter 3 times. And when it was presented to him to have the fight for the 4th time, he obviously didn't want it. However, what he was told was that, look, man, this is going to be a very competitive fight because guy #1 really hasn't been training that much. He's been doing interviews. He's been running around doing different things. Meanwhile, this other guy's feeling very, very healthy. He was a little sick in the last fight. He feels better in this particular fight. On the way in, I think we should make the match. So the matchmaker took the match, made the match, even though he thought it was going to be a blowout originally. But based off what he heard in the locker room that day, he was like, oh no, it's going to be an upset. And it wound up being an upset. The reason I tell you that story is to tell you that it is not much difference between a great fighter and a not so great fighter. It's a very small difference. If that not so great fighter is not on and they dip and then that other fighter is really feeling good that day, you can get a fight that happened just like Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach, where the fight is unexpectedly close. But what is going to happen in the second fight, I think is already, at least signs of it is already playing out, as Gervonta Davis has kept his promise that he made in the post-fight press conference after the Lamont Roach fight. He said, look, man, I was talking about retirement. I'm not talking about retirement anymore. I thought I may have 2 fights left, but now I got at least 4. And he kept his promise and immediately went right back into the gym. There was reports that he was already working with Coach, and I gave his name before, Coach Mustafa in Atlanta. People were wondering whether or not Gervonta Davis had hired a new trainer. They came out and said, no, he didn't hire a trainer. But Coach Mustafa, when he was interviewed by Mill City Boxing, said that he was very, very impressed with where Gervonta Davis already was for the fight. And he said that he's already in shape, stayed in shape, and looks like, man, he is really, really hungry for this rematch that's coming up. Then Coach Gervonta went to Florida and he started working out with Kevin Cunningham, the former trainer of Corey Spinks. My understanding is that Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny are going to be on their way to Florida soon, if they're not already there, to start working on strategies and game and planning for the Lamont Roach fight, right? What is Lamont Roach doing on the other hand? What Lamont Roach is doing, at least is from what we can see, is he's doing a bunch of interviews and he's talking about the fight as if he won the fight. And basically said that, Gervonta Davis is too small for him and, the above things, right? What is that? That is he's running the danger of, what can we say? What is the word? Falling into the Buster Douglas syndrome. There was an economist from the University of Chicago that was asked to write a paper about the economics of boxing. And in this paper, one of the things that he talked about was the necessity to have fighters fight very, very often and also not to overpay them. And the reason why they said you shouldn't overpay fighters is because of something called the Buster Douglas syndrome. That's when you get your first payday and people are celebrating you and because you won a fight that you weren't expected to win. So there's a lot of hype and focus on you and you feel like, hey man, you're the king. You're doing a lot of interviews. People are starting to recognize you. It's almost like you get your sheet, like that saying that Marvelous Marvin Hagler had said, where he was like, look, it's hard to get up at 5 a.m. and run when you're sleeping in silk sheets or sleeping in silk sheets or sleeping in silk pajamas. But whatever the case, there's a certain amount of comfort. There's a certain amount of relaxation when you really feel like you've made it, which is why many people say that it is easier to win a championship than it is to maintain one, because you have to, as a champion, you have to constantly keep up your motivation. You have to constantly keep up your hunger for the people that are coming at you. So what happens when a fighter, and it could go in a lot of different ways, but sometimes it occurs like this. For example, when Roy Jones Jr. had lost to Montel Griffin, he put up a good fight. In the beginning of the fight, wind up getting knocked down. Roy Jones Jr. clips him while he's down. And for some very, very unnecessary reason, they disqualify Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. gets hungrier, comes back, demolishes Montel Griffith after what people they consider to be a close fight, right? Same thing for Floyd Mayweather Jr. and he fought Jose Luis Castillo. A champion that has lost or people thought was lost that really grinds down and now they're back, they've got their hunger, can get back and now start fighting in almost a contender mode, a mode that they had not been in for a while because of their success. So in short, what we're seeing here is Lamont Roach risking falling victim to his success, while Gervonta Davis is very, very focused and almost looks like his life is driven towards that rematch. And as a result, I think we're going to get an excellent, excellent rematch. My take on it is I think that Gervonta Davis, thank you to Phoenix Assassin for breaking it down, is probably going to have to take a strategy with Lamont Roach that's different than he took with other ones, and which just means outbox him. You have to be busier than him. You have to outbox him. He's a very stern, strong chin guy who doesn't look like he's going to let himself open up too much. So you're just going to have to outbox him. You got to outwork him. You got to just be in greater shape than him. And also Gervonta has to change his patterns. He has to change the times that he's going to cruise and the times that he's going to pick it up, because it's very evident that from the last fight that Lamont Roach knew his pattern, knew the pace that he was going to start at, knew what rounds it was that he was going to amp up. And whenever Gervonta Davis was ready to amp up, he was ready to amp up with him, because it looked like to me that Lamont Roach had an understanding of Gervonta Davis's rhythm for that fight. Going into the second fight, Gervonta Davis switches up that rhythm into something that's not expected and can throw Lamont Roach off. Then Lamont Roach is probably going to lose that fight by decision. And if he gets down on rounds or if he feels like that, then he starts pressing him, then Lamont Roach could get stopped. But it's going to be a very, very interesting fight. But so far, obviously, what are we? This is April, May, June, about 8 weeks, maybe 12 weeks out from the fight. That is looking like, unless Lamont Roach starts getting real serious in that gym, Gervonta Davis may have a major advantage during that rematch. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.